So tell me, Tainari, who is Dorn, and why did he come to port? Dornman Port. Oh, Dornman Port? Recently, the Giga Chad Liben himself arrived once again in Mondstadt bearing news of a mystical place referred to as Dornman Port. I've had tales of such a place. Rumour has it, this is Beta Harbour's long-lost cousin. Don't say such things. With Liben bringing this up, it can only mean this is a region of vital importance that we are finally going to get after all these years. And because I have perfectly normal feelings about Dornman Port, we're gonna go over everything we know so far about this place. Hold your horses, because when I say everything, I mean everything. Like everywhere that this place has been mentioned. So anyway, let's travel back to 1.0 and make our way over to Thousand Winds Temple, where we find a lone researcher who somehow hasn't been noticed by these Hilichels. This man was our first informant, Henry Morton, the first official Dornman Port leaker. So if we enter dialogue with him, he's talking about the nameless island over yonder, and in response, the traveller points out, well, you could charter a boat, to which Morton responds, oh no, I thought so too, and I did remember that you could charter one at Dornman Port, but that's way too far away. Now, okay, I already have my first gripe with this port, because I have come across multiple NPCs at this point in the game that specifically state that taking a boat from Liyue is easier than going by land, and Liyue Harbour is much further away than the nameless island. So what exactly does this Morton guy even mean? Not to mention, they have routes going all the way to Sumeru, and I can only assume Inazuma too. Are you even a real member of the Academia? Huh? The next time Dornman Port showed up in the patch cycles was when Eula and Yanfei released. From Eula's voiceovers, we find out that they met at the port. They, the knights, had been tracking down cargo that belonged to the Abyss Order, packing it like regular cargo to be shipped to Liyue Harbour from Dornman. Yanfei was a consultant for the merchant ship, but found something a bit too fishy, and no, it didn't come from the sea. The knights arrived just on time to save her from whatever was in the cargo, and they worked together to investigate further, tracking down the Abyss Order in question. The next time we hear anything about this port is once we arrive in Inazuma and chance upon a dock worker by the name of Jones. Turns out he got conned into coming to Inazuma for work. Originally, he was a labourer at Dornman Port until people from the Kanjo Commission came knocking and claimed they had a well-paying job that didn't require much work. Jones took it, but once he arrived, found himself unable to leave due to the Sakoku decree, and that the work was in fact very tiring and overexerting. Once you complete the Inazuma Archon quest, he can be found back at the small dock at Mondstadt City, which, I'll say, them putting him here always gave me the impression that it meant these docks are accessible from Dornman Port too. And speaking of this little menace, if you go through her character stories, you find out that she has literally transformed like half of Mondstadt at this point, and what's more, one of her victims was Stormbearer Mountains, this spot that is now blocked off, but isn't on Jean's map. So this could have at one point been a route into the open sea and toward Dornman Port. However, there is a waterway through here, so perhaps this is the new route that boats take. Either way, Dornman Port has to connect to this side of the continent, and this side where Fontaine and Chenyuvale are, so there has to be water on both sides. If we jump over to Port Ormos, we can find the bulletin board with a lot of advertisements, but the one we want is this, from a trading company. I'm not sure what company this is or if it even exists in game. This fruit business has recently opened a trade route to Dornman Port from Port Ormos. But it gets interesting when someone else points out that fruit would spoil on such a long journey. The trader says importing wine from Mondstadt is a business, but only they deal with importing fruit. You don't actually need to import from Mondstadt. And see, to me it seems like they're implying a bit of underhanded business, using Mondstadt to boost their brand appeal, but in actuality are importing fruits from other regions instead of the wine region itself. Very sneaky. And wine region it is indeed, because up next we have important cultural wine event, Wineless Fest. And again, it's Eula. More merchant caravans show up during festival time, so they are tasked with patrolling the route between Mondstadt and Dornman Port. And this also raises questions. Is there a land connection between the two, or do her and her knights do most of the patrolling by boat?
As well as traveling with the caravans to ensure essential goods are delivered without incident. We have to investigate suspicious locations to eliminate any emerging threats.
But then the use of the word caravan implies that this is by land, so maybe we have a chance of an actual land route? John Hoyoverse, please don't mess this up. Dornman Port is also mentioned again during this event when the traveller is carrying out a business order request from a shop owner in Liyue. We take this proposition to Diona, who brings it up, as Kuching has been sourcing water from Qingsa village's spring water and sells it to sailors at the dock to promote the village. Oh look, if it isn't our favourite sneezy friend, we can't escape her. Girl, you got a cold or something? Don't give it to me. Anyway, yes, alchemical ascension. This time, she made friends with Beidou over at Dornman Port. You know what? I'll let Eula take it from here.
Recently, we've intercepted a string of attempts to smuggle goods through Dornman Port, so we decided to step up our patrols in the area. On my rounds that day, I noticed a group of people I'd never seen before, and they were sailors. My suspicions were raised, so I asked their captain to show a valid entry permit for the port. Captain Beidou said she didn't have the entry permit on her person and told me to check with the port authorities myself. I insisted that she should accompany me there and, well, you can see how things could get heated in a situation like that.
So basically, Beidou being Beidou. This does tell us though that you need a special permit in order to be granted entry, and I sure wonder if this whole smuggling issue will come up again as we head there ourselves. And the reason Beidou was there becomes clearer once we read through her birthday mail. Not long ago, I led the fleet west across the sea by way of Yilong Wharf to Fontaine's Luminous Harbour to open up some new shipping routes, and the only way she could have possibly taken the Alcor, a giant ship, to Yilong Wharf and Luminous Harbour is if she went by way of Dornman Port. So they all need to be connected by open sea. During Receiver of Friends from Afar, Faruzan, Dory and Layla all briefly mentioned Dornman Port too.
I got my hands on a new boat from Fontaine a while ago, equipped with cutting-edge navigation technology. If we manage to spread the word, it could have huge business potential. Right now, we're doing some test runs. We sailed from Port Ormos to Rito, then from Rito to Liyue Harbor. Next, we're planning to go to Dornman Port.
Small side tangent, but this is very interesting because it seems that someone, whether Fontainian or not, has managed to make working boats that can function outside of Fontaine without the arc power, although this doesn't really provide us with any new information. In Rosaria's anecdote, she's eyeing up a suspicious treasure hoarder, where their network also seems to have a lot of big plans of late. This guy was attempting to move people from their posts, presumably in order to smuggle goods without anyone noticing, but they do mention Dornman Port again. But how close is close in Teyvat terms really? And there seems to be a pattern of smuggling and treasure hoarder issues after paralogism, and I think this was only available during another Dodoco event. We were able to talk to Phonia, and this was our first hint at the moving of a lot of manpower over to the port. This is then mentioned in Jean's most recent mail. Based on new clues they had gathered, the Grand Master decided to head to Nordcry for further investigation, while Mother and several other knights were ordered to return to Dornman Port for defense. She also again mentions that Dornman Port isn't that far away from the city. Clearly though, something big will be going down very soon. Something big, you say? And finally, we're back where we started, to Liban, who gives us the most information by far. Oh, Dornman Port, my port. I'm gonna port all over the place. What wisdom do you have for us, old Liban? According to him, Dornman Port is a short distance and directly north of Mondstadt. Oh, have you not been there before, friend? Well, someone was holding me back, telling me we'll explore it later. Oh, classic John. So once again, relatively close, and it is a port town built on cargo shipping and flower cultivation, so the main Mondstadt exports from there would likely be wine and flowers. Mondstadt is pretty famous for their flowers, and they're an important part of their culture, but he also mentions a sanatorium. They say that anyone who visits the sanatorium will remain in those enchanted hills forevermore. No, don't give me Sumeri hospital flashbacks, please. Now, this is just me completely spitballing here, but considering most of Teyvat is relatively, I say that loosely, geographically the same as our world, Dornman Port, being a bit further north than Mondstadt City, could take the form of, say, a city like Amsterdam. No, not that Amsterdam, this Amsterdam. Nestled between Fontaine and Mondstadt, which would be super nice to see. Oh, hold on, I've just received word. We have breaking news. The Moon Maiden herself has given us a view of Teyvat from the moon. And oh, what's that? Zoom in for me, cameraman. Wait, how do you get here? That looks an awful lot like Mondstadt land. With all this teasing since 1.0 and all this new information we're now being fed, it is clear Mondstadt is going to play a huge role in upcoming patches and has heavy ties to Nordcry itself. You know, we've got the fact that Mondstadt is literally called Moon City, but don't worry about it. So many unanswered questions still, and all roads lead back to Mondstadt. John Hoyoverse, I beg you, please just give us a road connection to it.